Hello everyone, I'm Dinesh. Welcome back to my channel. Here's another quick video on something important, specifically about delta tables we create in Microsoft Fabric. When we design solutions using Microsoft Fabric, in most of our projects we use lakehouses. In certain cases, we use warehouses as well. Whether you are using lakehouses or warehouses, the tables you create are stored as delta tables. And behind the scene, Fabric writes data as Parquet files. Okay, that's how tables are getting created. When it writes Parquet files, it uses a special technique to optimize read performance. That technique is called vorder, and it's a write time optimization. So in this video, we are going to look at a common question. Are these tables vorder enabled by default, or do we have to turn it on explicitly? Can we control it? What will happen when we update records? Or is this something we don't need to worry about at all? That's what we are going to explore this video. So let's explore and find out. All right, so let's try to understand what is vorder, whether we need it or not, or by default, all our delta tables are vorder enabled tables, or is it something we have to enable, right? What's the default setting and all. So let's try to understand all these things. So first of all, what is vorder? vorder is a write time optimization, which means when you write data, you know that when you work with delta tables, when you insert updates records, it creates Parquet files. Okay, so this vorder is getting applied for Parquet files. All right, so let's assume that vorder is enabled for this table. So when you write data, engine uses special techniques for writing. So when it's come to writing, there are multiple operations related to it, like sorting, row group distribution, encoding, compression. So all these things will happen in a different way. All right, that's what happened when you enable vorder for your table, right? But the benefits comes in data retrieval. So when you read data, if Parquet files are vorder enable Parquet files, then reading or the read performance is really good, specifically with Vertiscan enable or engines that use Vertiscan technology. So in Microsoft Fabric, we have Power BI and SQL. So these engines use Vertiscan. So when these engines read data from delta tables that have Parquet files or the vorder enabled Parquet files, then read performance is really good. Okay, but again, the benefit is not only for engines that use Vertiscan technology. Even with Spark, let's say you use Spark for reading data from your delta tables, you still see some good read performance. All right, and then another thing is direct lake mode is actually it relies on vorder. So if your tables are not created with vorder enable Parquet files, there can be a situation where you do not see direct lake mode, or it simply switches to direct query mode. Okay, so vorder is really important in that case, because most of the time we design solution is using Microsoft Fabric for analytics, so which means you have to read data. So reading data works really good with vorder. So it's always better to have this vorder enable. But there can be a situation where you do not need vorder enable. Why? Now you know that this is a write time optimization, which means it will use some additional resources when it writes data. So which means cost goes up with data writing, cost goes down with data reading. So you have to remember that. So if you have to prioritize, let's say you need to improve the performance of data writing, in that case, consider vorder, whether you really need it or not. In most of the cases, what we prefer is not to have vorder with your table if you really want to improve the write performance. All right. Okay. Now, how do you really control this? What is the default setting with Lakehouse warehouse? Is there a way of checking whether my Parquet files are vorder enable Parquet files or not? That's what we are going to explore with the next slide. Okay. So let's first work with lakehouses. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a very simple table in a lakehouse, and let's check and see whether it is table is created or Parquet files created are vorder enable Parquet files or not. Still, I have not seen a method for checking whether Parquet files are VOD enabled Parquet files or not in documents. Okay. But when I go through the log, I can see some settings. So let's explore and see. That could be the right way of checking whether the table is a VOD enabled table or not. Or Microsoft might give us something completely different, or a new method for checking whether the table created is a VOD enabled table or not. Okay. I haven't seen any official announcement on that, but I'll show you some techniques for checking all these things through logs. Okay, right. So let's work with Lakehouse and see now. Okay, so this is the workspace I'm going to use, Fabric Test 038. Okay, so I have created a Lakehouse and warehouse. I don't have any tables. So this is my Lakehouse. Let me quickly refresh both these tabs just to make sure that everything is okay, right? So in my Lakehouse, I don't have any tables or folders. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a data table using a Python code. And then let's see whether the table we create and Parquet files that are created for my tables are VOD enabled or not. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Open Notebook and then click on New Notebook. All right. First of all, how do we really check and see whether VOD is enabled for this session? Okay. So there's a way of checking it. You can go for Spark and then config. Then you can say get. Right. I can say spark.sql.parquet and then vorder.default. All right. So let me execute this code and see if VORder is enabled for this session. I'll be seeing true, else I'll be seeing false. Let's see. So it's getting executed. So generally we know that session must be started within 5 seconds because it uses starter pool, right? Code is getting executed, right? This is what I see. So answer or the output of this command is false. Now, with my other workspaces that were created a couple of months back, if I execute this code, what I get is true, but now I get false. So what you have to remember is when it's come to Lakehouses, okay, by default, VORder is disabled now. All right. But if you have created your workspaces, Lakehouses, data tables, let's say a couple of months back, I really cannot remember the exact date, but let's say a couple of months back, then what you're going to see is true for this statement. So this is a new change in Fabric. By default, VOD is disabled. Anyway, let's try to create a data table and see. So let me say from Spark, I'll input some SQL types. All right. And from this, I need structure type. I'm going to create a schema, and then I need to have structure field as well. Let's use integer type and string type. Okay, this is what I want. Let's create a table with 2 columns. So I'm going to say data, and let's have a collection. First record. Let's say we are going to create something like customer table. In that case, I'm going to have 2 records, 2 records with 2 columns. Let's say customer ID and customer name. So let me say one is for the ID and name is Dinesh. Done. And then the second record, ID is 2. Let's say Jane. All right. This is going to be my record. Let me quickly create a schema. So I'll be using structure type and oops, press enter. Right. Structure field. Let's have this as ID and integer type, and let's pass false for this. Right. Let me copy this. Second column, I'm going to say, let's say name, and this is going to be string type. All right, so my schema is ready. Let's create a data frame quickly. Spark.create data frame using my data and schema. Okay, all good, right? Now let's write this data set as a table. Df write format delta. Okay, and then let's say mode is if it is X is override. Okay, save. We say tables customer. Let's quickly and we can check the data set as well. Let me just say df. I'm going to execute this code. Let's okay. I think I have made a mistake. Data type. Okay, what's the mistake I have made? Let me see. Oh, right. Okay, so I need to have open close brackets for this. I think now it is okay. Let me run it and see. Right, code is getting executed. So let's see whether the table is getting created. I'm going to open my Lakehouse in another tab. We create a notebook in this tab. All right, so I can see data in my data frame. Let me go to the Lakehouse. I can see my customer table. Go into it. You can see load in preview. Let's wait and see. All right, so I can see my record. Now, how do I really check and see whether Parquet files created are vorder enable Parquet files or not? Okay, so again, this is not the official way. When I was going through all these logs and all, I found certain properties in JSON files. So let's exploit and see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on ellipsis button of my customer table and then click on view files. You can see a couple of Parquet files have been created. I'm not too sure why three files have been created. So I don't know why it has created 3 files. Okay, but it doesn't matter. So let's go to log. I can see one JSON. Let me open the JSON. So I can see commit info, metadata, and 2 records. There is no indicator or properties that that is related to vorder. So I don't see anything that says vorder enable or vorder set or anything like that. Okay, so it doesn't say anything on vorder, right? So let's go back to this. Let me open the notebook. What we can do is we can actually change the setting for the Spark session and then insert another record. All right, so I'm going to say not get set. So default is going to be, all right, this is how you enable vorder for your Spark session. So once it is enabled, whenever you create your delta tables with data, Parquet files will be vorder enable Parquet files. Okay, now everything, if I scroll up and execute my first cell, let's execute, I get true because it is, vorder is enabled now. All right. So let's do, let's insert a new record and see. For that, I need to have, yeah, I need to get by Spark SQL import row. Yeah, yes, this is all right. So let's can actually copy this code. All right, this time let's have only one record. So let me say ID 3 and let's say Jack. We don't need the schema. We can use the same schema. And then I'm going to say create data frame schema, set schema. And let's set, let's change the data frame name. So let me say data frame new. Okay, and then data frame new, write format delta, not override, let's say append. Okay, so let me execute. Right, done. So let's go to the Lakehouse. I'm going to refresh the whole thing, and then let me click on customer table and see whether we see 3 records. All right, I need to refresh the whole thing again. So this is something I have noticed in Fabric environment. In certain cases, yes, it takes some time to seeing, whatever the updates we have made. Right, never mind. So I see all 3 records. Let's go to view files now. I can see additional Parquet files. Let's go to the log. I can see 2 additional JSON. So this is what we explored before. So let me click on number 1 JSON. I can see commit info. Now I can see a tag called vorder true. This wasn't available with the previous JSON file. And you can see the record or the tag related records, right? That also, when it comes to this element, I can see tags property and vorder. It's basically say vorder true, right? So which means when it's come to whatever the Parquet file that have been created for our third record, it is a vorder enable Parquet files. So this is how you can use this technique for checking and seeing whether Parquet files are vorder enabled or not. But basically what you have to remember is, okay, when it's come to Lakehouses, by default, vorder is disabled, all right? Second thing is you can enable it, and then when you create your tables, when you insert records, from that point onwards, your Parquet files will be vorder enable Parquet files, but nothing will happen to the Parquet files that have been already created for your table. That's something you need to remember. Okay, these Parquet files cannot be changed. So let's say before you enabling this, you have set of Parquet files with large number of records. Those Parquet files will be standard Parquet files. Okay, you cannot change it. All right, that's something you need to remember. All right, so now we have done with Lakehouse. Okay, so what we can do is we can actually check with warehouse. So let's check with warehouse tables. All right, this is the warehouse I have created. I deleted my previous one and created a new one. Okay, so warehouse 3802. Right, so let's do the same test. I'm going to click on new query, and let's create a table like, let me create a table called employee. Okay, let's have 2 columns, just like the previous one, int, and name, let's say Vircha 20. Okay, so let me execute. I have my table. Let me expand schema, DBO, tables. I can see my employee table. I don't have any record, so I'm going to insert one record, insert into dbo.employee, ID, name, values. Let's have one record. Done. Let me click on employee. I should see one record. Now the question is this table vorder enable table, or basically the Parquet files that have been created for this table are vorder enable Parquet files or not? How do we really check? Okay. Now in my Lakehouse, if I click on this ellipsis button, I had a menu item called view files, but I don't see anything like this. So we have no way of checking Parquet files or the files that have been created for this table with this warehouse interface. But what we can do is we can create a shortcut in the Lakehouse targeting the warehouse table, and then use Lakehouse view files menu item for seeing files. Okay, so let's do like that. Let me go to my Lakehouse. This is the table we created in our Lakehouse. Or under tables node, I'm going to click on this ellipsis button and then select new shortcut. Select one lake. I can see my warehouse, newly created warehouse. Select it and then click on next. Expand tables, DBO. I can see my employee table. All right, let me select it and click on next, create. So I'm getting my shortcut created. I can see it now. Let me click on employee shortcut. I should see the record be inserted. So remember, employee table exists in the warehouse. In the Lakehouse, it is just a shortcut. On refresh. All right, I can see the record. Now, let's click on this ellipsis button and view files. Structure is a bit different if you remember the structure of the customer table. So we see the log file, log folder, but we see some additional folders. Like I can go into this, I can see another folder, another subfolder. Then only I see my Parquet file. All right. So let's go to the root. Let's go to the log. I can see two JSON. Let me open the first JSON. Let's see whether there is an indicator saying whether it's vorder or not. I don't see anything. Let's open the second file. I can see a tag, right? The property called tags. And then I can see another property called vorder, which is true, right? So what you have to remember is when it's come to warehouse, when you create tables, vorder is by default enabled. This is opposite of the Lakehouse. So if you remember, with the Lakehouse, default setting is vorder disabled. But with warehouse, you can see vorder is enabled. You don't need to turn it on. All right. Is it possible to turn this thing off? Yes, it is possible. We can turn vorder or we can disable vorder. But what you have to remember is, once it is turned it off, you cannot turn it on again. Okay. And this turning on and off, that facility is available at the warehouse level, not at the table levels. In Lakehouse, you can actually configure vorder at the table levels as well. Now, with the previous demo, what I did was I enable with the Spark session. Okay, but it can be done for the table as well. But when it's come to warehouse, that's at the warehouse level, you cannot configure vorder with tables. Once the vorder is off, then you have no way of enabling it again. So let's do it and see. Let's go back to the warehouse. Let me open the query window. So how do I disable it? I can say alter database current set vorder off. Okay, so let me execute this. Done, right? So we turn it off. Let's insert another record. Let me copy this, paste, and let's have a record like 2 and Jane. Right, I'm going to execute this. Second record is inserted. Let's go back to the Lakehouse. I'll refresh the whole thing just to make sure. I'm going to see a newly added record. Okay, I can see 2 records. So we see the right warehouse table. Now let's explore files and see. Let me click on the ellipsis button and then select view files. Go to the subfolder, not the subfolder. Let's open the log. And let's open the second JSON file. If I open the second JSON file, now I can see, I can see the same property, which is called tags. And then under that, we can see vorder, which is false. So we have turned it off, right? So from this point onwards, when you insert records to your our employee table, all Parquet files will be created as standard Parquet files, not as vorder enable Parquet files. All right. Okay. All demos done. So what you have to remember is vorder is by default disabled with Lakehouse. vorder is by default enabled with warehouse. So in Lakehouse, you can enable, disable at the session level or the table level. But when it's come to warehouse, at this moment, you can disable it at the warehouse level. You have no way of configuring it at the table level. But once it is disabled at the warehouse level, you have no way of enabling it again. All right, that's it. Demos are done. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helped you understand vorder a bit better. I'll be back soon with another important video. Until then, take care and keep exploring Microsoft Fabric.